It's really hard to talk to a very good immigration lawyer that deals with Canadians going into the US because they're swamped. Basically, people asking for advice of how do we actually make this happen. Now, I've been asked this a lot, so I'm going to just give it to you in a nutshell of what I figured out about how to immigrate to the US. I'm going to talk about this from my perspective, really, because that's what I've researched into.
Live behind decisions I chose. Peaks feel good and the valleys get low. Chains for the tires in the rain, hail, snows. Like this everywhere that I go, everywhere that I go.
Hey everybody, it's Hussein Kabani, your favorite broker, and I want to talk to you guys about some news articles that have been floating around right now. And it's about, this is the highest number of Canadians wanting to leave the country. Now, I'll caution you guys, don't believe everything you see on TV, read on the newspaper, hear on the radio, because sometimes it's just not true. In this case, it's absolutely true. I believe whatever they're reporting is very much so correct. And this is from firsthand experience, my own experience, and also talking to other people. Now, generally when I've been talking to people, obviously I want to try to get an insight of like, hey, what are they thinking about the real estate market? So I can understand what they're thinking. And then it also helps my business at the same time. So I know how we can position things, how we should be investing in our business to grow it further, and to know how we can actually accommodate these people at the same time based on what their goals are. But more and more of the conversations I'm having with people right now, the conversation is that, hey, we're looking for opportunities elsewhere. This is the most I've ever talked to any groups of people, and they're telling me that they're looking at other opportunities, whether it be, in Texas, in Florida. Those are the main ones that come up. Other parts of the US, other places around the world like Portugal, Spain, so many other countries are coming up over here right now. But the most I've been hearing about so far is the US. And maybe it's the US because for us living in Canada, it just might be an easier transition overall. Because as my friend Steve Zelenardo put it, is we basically grew up on US things. We grew up on US cereal, we grew up on US TV shows, we grew up on US music, we grew up on so much. So it's so much, I would think it's so much easier for us to kind of make a transition over there. The numbers are, I think, true, and there are a lot of people that are looking to go out there. And if you watch any of our previous videos, you probably would know that this is something that I've been considering as well. I haven't completely jumped onto the bandwagon, but it is something that I'm considering, and I'll touch on that in a bit. But you may be asking me like, hey, why are these people actually looking at doing something like this? So majority of the reason I've been hearing this is just the cost of living over here is just getting out of whack, okay? Cost of living, the opportunities, the political arena that we have here. I would not even say arena, I would say gong show. And I don't think the US is any more different than our political system that we have going on over here right now. But the other major thing is that the people I have been talking to, they're really not seeing the opportunity here anymore. Now, even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, me personally, I bought my first place almost 20 years ago. We saw the opportunity. We were saying, okay, we could build off of this. It's not like we were getting like huge amounts of appreciation even 20 years ago when I was thinking about, when I was doing these things. But right now, it's really hard to think that there is opportunity. And I've mentioned in other videos, it's like, you move to Pickering into the Seton neighborhood, you're buying a townhouse for $900,000. Like, I don't know how feasible it is for like a young couple that is just getting together that makes $120K to somehow afford this thing. It just doesn't make sense. But the opportunities is a major thing. Now, who are these people that are trying to move out there? For the most part, what I find is that it's kind of people in my age group. Maybe I haven't been talking to too many younger people or older people, so I haven't really been able to realize that information just yet. But I've been talking to people that are, call it 35 to 45, and that's the main group that I see that is really focused on saying, hey, I think we're kind of done with what we could do over here, and it's time to look for opportunities elsewhere. Just before we started recording this right now, I was sharing with Chris and Ima of another listing that one of my clients sent me that they're looking in San Antonio, and there's this beautiful, almost 2,600 square foot detached double car garage home. And it's about $390,000 US. Even when we convert this thing at almost like $1.40 or $1.38, it ends up to being $540,000 Canadian to purchase this property. It just seems so much more appealing because when I look at over here and say, hey, for $540,000, what can I actually buy? It's sad. Like, what am I going to get? Like a 1-bedroom condo in Pickering, possibly doesn't even have parking. You know, it's a sad state of affairs over here when you start to think that that's what you're striving, you're working so hard. And let's just even call it what it is. Like at $600,000, like you got to be making $120,000 roughly to even qualify for that mortgage. So what is it? Two couples that are going to be working extremely hard. They're going to be able to afford this condo for $600,000. And honestly, if you're making $120K and you have to buy something for $600,000, and then you have the rest of your bills to just live, like groceries, clothing, all of these things, like your car payment, gas, you really don't have anything left. Like, where are you going for a vacation? Even the prices for camping in an Ontario park has gone up so much since when I started camping there. Like, you have no more money left over. I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom, but I'm just saying, like, I can understand why so many people are looking for alternatives to Canada. Now, mainly, like I said, people are looking for other opportunities and further growth. Now, this kind of leads into, I will recap kind of what my position on this is. And it's thanks to a good friend of mine that actually has made the transition over there. It's really opened my eyes of like, hey, you know, he did this thing and he's seeing the opportunity over there. And when you start to compare the markets, you kind of start to think that, hey, there might be more opportunity over there than there is over here, especially where we're kind of stuck in the situation where we are. And if you think that real estate is the biggest growth, like for me, you guys may be thinking, hey, we could grow money this way, that way, and this way. And maybe I'm too old and stuck in my way at this point of being 40 plus, that I just believe in real estate. I like real estate. I'm passionate about real estate. So I want to continue to work in that environment. So I just find it's going to be harder for me to build my portfolio based on being over here, just of the cost of entry. And you can argue and say that, hey, like Calgary seems like a great investment, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on it. I think it's a lot. In certain cases, it could be a lot better to invest in Calgary than in Toronto in certain cases. And I haven't done the research thoroughly enough to advise you on that at this point. I mean, if you're interested in something like that, it's definitely a conversation. We can have a bunch of information about it. We could talk about it, but that's not what this video is about. So what have I kind of done about it? I've started looking into it, looked into Florida, looked into Texas. And the main thing that comes up for me is that, hey, how far can my money actually go in the US? And I'm not talking about single family residential homes. I'm talking about looking into possibly purchasing multi-units, like maybe 15, 20, 30 units at a time and saying, hey, can I put enough money down? Can I get enough people together over here to like buy this in a partnership and cash flow this property? Can we look at things that have depressed rent in them and say, hey, can we bring up the rents? And obviously we're looking at states that are landlord friendly, okay? Like Ontario sucks for being a landlord because you have like no rights at all. As soon as you rent out your place, just assume that they own that property if they don't want to act right. So all of this being said, you have to figure out how you're actually going to operate down in the US. And that's something I've spent a lot of time on. And this is also where I have figured out that a lot of immigration attorneys in the US are busy talking to Canadians. It's really hard to talk to a very good immigration lawyer that deals with Canadians going into the US because they're swamped. They have so many inquiries coming out of Canada to get to the US. Even there's Facebook groups, if you don't believe me, you can join these Facebook groups of like, even specifically Canadians wanting to move to Florida, Canadians wanting to move to Texas. I'm on these groups and I can see inquiries every single day, a dozen or more, basically people asking for advice of how do we actually make this happen. Now, I've been asked this a lot, so I'm going to just give it to you in a nutshell of what I figured out about how to immigrate to the US. Now, I'm going to talk about this from my perspective, really, because that's what I've researched into. I operate a business here right now. So for me to get something called an E2 visa in the US may be straightforward from what I understand. You got to put in about $150,000 US into a company that you create into the US, spend a bunch of that money in setup costs, buy desk, lease space, hire somebody, show that these monies have been spent, and then you can basically go to the immigration over there and say, hey, I'm looking for an E2 visa because I'm going to set up my business that I have running in Canada, in the US, and look at all the money I've spent. It just needs me to get there in order to start operating. Chances are, if you have done everything legitimately, your intentions are pure, you're likely going to be able to go in there. And not only are you going to be able to go in there, but your spouse and your kids, I believe if they're under 19 or 21, are going to be able to go there. They're going to be able to work, attend school. They're going to be able to do their thing over there. And for you that's applying for the E2 visa, you're going to have to work your business. The one thing with the E2 visa is that it doesn't have actually a pathway to citizenship, okay? Or even a green card. The E2 visa is designed for you to go there, for you to operate your business, for your family to continue living their life. And when your business is done, it's for you to pack up and go home, okay? Canada, if that's what it is. But what I see a lot of people doing is going on their E2 visa over there, figuring it out if that's the right bet for them, if things make sense for them, and then petitioning or converting into an EB5, okay? An EB5 is an investor visa, and it works in two ways. One of the ways is an EB5 direct. And an EB5 direct visa is that you have to have $1,050,000 US at risk in your business, okay? And you have to hire 10 full-time W-2 employees, and you have to prove to the government that it actually works in order for you and your family to get a green card on your pathway to citizenship. Now, it's really tough to do that, guys. Like, I'm sure it's doable, but you have to be super committed in order to be able to do something like that. The other way is, and you have to have a bunch of cash either way, okay? So $1,050,000 US to invest in, there's no joke. The other way is that I found that maybe I might try to execute if I try to look for this type of a way for a pathway to citizenship in the US is an EB5 regional visa. EB5 regional visa is projects that are basically government approved, that are going to generate X amount of jobs, that are going to stimulate the economy X amount of percent or whatever. And these could be projects ranging from like housing developments to retirement communities to hotels, and they're located all over the US. So it's called a EB5 regional investment. And there's two different types of that. So if you go for a rural one, the investment in there is about $800,000. If you go for more of an urban investment, it's going to be $1,050,000. From what I understand, the minimum term you have to have your money in one of these investments is about 2 years. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get your money back in 2 years. You're going to have your money back when that project is actually complete. So you have to be careful about the project that you're going to be investing in at the same time. I think the average is about 4 to 5 years you can get all of your money back. At the same time, they will pay you some type of interest on it, but the interest is very, very low. And roughly, it costs to about $80,000 to execute all the processing costs of this visa, including legal, immigration fees, everything else like that. So the way I looked at it is that whatever interest that you earn by your money being there is actually just funding that legal cost, that immigration cost that is going to allow you to get your green card on your pathway to citizenship. So these are the two ways that I have kind of explored getting into the US on the pathway to green card to citizenship. But again, it takes a lot of capital for you to be able to do that at the same time. And I think that's why the people that I've been talking to that are thinking about moving into the US are kind of set up in this kind of way where they either have some cash, maybe from the sale of their primary residence, or they operate a business over here and they feel confident enough to be able to go into the US and set up that business as well. So I am talking with people that are doing this, and that is something that I may consider. Now, I'm really interested to know what you guys are thinking at the same time, because I think the more that we share our ideas, the more feedback I get from people, it helps me kind of figure out my position in what I'm doing, and it maybe even helps us educate other people as to what's going on by sharing the information. So if you guys are thinking about something like this, and maybe you're not comfortable just shooting your comment down below or whatnot, but if you are, that's great, because a lot of people will hopefully see it and get some value out of it. But I always have my Calendly link below. So if you guys are thinking about doing something or want to talk further about what I'm thinking about doing with this, I encourage you guys just to click that link. I'm not going to follow up with you like a maniac. I'm not going to put you in some system and call you every week until I figure out how to get money out of you. It's not my prerogative, okay, guys? I just want to have a conversation and see what you guys are thinking. I can share what I'm thinking. Let's have this conversation in 15, 20 minutes. It doesn't hurt anybody. So click that link below, book an appointment. And guys, if you guys have found any value in this thing, and maybe you have friends or family that are interested in it, send them this video, share it with them, okay? Like the video, most importantly, subscribe. Every video I say I have the best content, I really do, and I just can't wait until the algorithm figures out that I am the best at this, so until we get some more subscribers, but I need your help. So subscribe, and I need you guys to remember one thing: get Kabani, get sold.
Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold.